China has vowed to defend its national sovereignty and territorial integrity as Taiwanese President William Lai sets foot on the Marshall Islands on the second stop of his Pacific tour. In a speech to the Marshallese Parliament, Mr. Lai announced the provision of a preferential loan for state-owned Air Marshall Islands to buy new aircraft. The Marshall Islands is among a dozen nations that have retained relations with Taipei, which has lost a string of diplomatic allies to China in just the last few years. The visit to Marshall Islands follows a stopover in the U.S. territory of Hawaii, during which Mr. Lai discussed what he calls China's military threats in a call with former U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. That provoked backlash from China, with Beijing slamming Washington over meddling with Taiwan and supporting what it calls independent separatist forces. Taiwanese forces are keeping an eye on Chinese maritime activities around the island and calling on Beijing to refrain from provocative action. Taiwan's defense ministry has stressed that it is able to act to ensure security in the strait amid reports suggesting that China could launch new war games as early as this weekend. And for more, CNA's Victoria Jen joins us live from Taipei. Victoria, how has Mr. Lai's trip been reported in local media?
Well, this is President William Lai's first overseas trip, so it's being widely reported by local media. When Taiwan leaders make such overseas trips, they would usually make transits on the U.S. mainland to strengthen bilateral ties and raise their international profiles. But what's interesting to note about Lai's visit is that he is making stopovers in Hawaii and Guam instead of the U.S. mainland. So critics say that his treatment from the U.S. has been downgraded compared to the previous trips by other Taiwan leaders. And most of the high-level contacts that Lai made with U.S. politicians during the transit were conducted over the phone. So some analysts suspect that this is the U.S. way of supporting Taiwan without aggravating China too much. But Lai's U.S. transit still drew angry responses from Beijing, which lodged formal protests against the U.S., accusing Washington of violating the One China policy. It's kind of expected that Beijing would react in a strong way. This especially since China considers Lai a separatist for his hardline pro-independence position and his two-state theory. He has said that the PRC and the ROC are not subordinate to each other from his first day in office. And some media reports cited sources as saying that China is likely to launch military exercises around the island over the weekend as retaliation. So far this year, China has already launched 2 military drills around Taiwan, and all were aimed at remarks made by William Lai. So it won't be much of a surprise if China actually launches military drills around Taiwan at the end of Lai's trip. Now, Taiwan's defense ministry declined to comment directly on a possible drill by China, but said that it's keeping a close watch. The military spokesperson said, and I quote, "The Ministry of National Defense takes a serious view of the enemy situation and handles this matter very seriously. We have very solid preparations and are not afraid of any threats," unquote. So the ministry is going to watch China's every move very closely. Back to you.
Oh, thanks, Victoria Jen there reporting live from Taipei.